Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Venus, and welcome to the fourth session of Talking Science with Dr. Venus. And today we are going to discuss about a very different field, which we are generally not aware of. And the field is in the intellectual property, or you can say that how to become a patent attorney, patent agent, or patent attorney. It is a field for the people in the basic sciences. आप बेसिक साइंसेज में या इंजीनियरिंग में अपनी स्टडीज कंप्लीट करके यू कैन एंटर दिस एरिया एंड बिकम अ पेटेंट अटर्नी और अ पेटेंट एजेंट you definitely will have to go through some exams and some other things, but that is the purpose of this whole session, to make you aware about this area which you can enter and have a very good career apart from the other options which are offered by the basic sciences people. So without taking much time, I will first of all request the moderator to put our today's guest, Dr. Sudarsan Rajagopal, on screen so that I can introduce him to our audience. Hello, Sudarshan.
Hi, Venus.
How are you?
Doing good. Enjoying lockdown as usual.
Yeah. Welcome to the Dr. Venus Talking Science with Dr. Venus session. And so I will just briefly introduce Dr. Sudarshan to my audience. Dr. Sudarshan did his graduation from 2003 to 2006 in microbiology from the University of Madras. After that, he appeared for the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research exam, and he joined TIFR Mumbai in 2007, and he did his integrated masters and PhD from TIFR Mumbai from 2007 to 2015. And in this period, he was primarily working on parasite, cell biology, protein biochemistry, and host immune response, which is very technical. Sounds very technical, but yeah, I mean, it is a good field. He did his PhD under the supervision of Dr. Shobna Sharma. And after that, I mean, while he was doing his PhD for a very short time, he also worked as a freelance science editor. जिन लोगों ने मेरा पुराना पिछले इससे पहले वाला सेशन अटेंड किया था, so we talked with Dr. Shazia Khanam about science editing. So he also worked as a freelance science editor while he was finishing his PhD for a very short stint. In 2016, he joined the group of Professor Firoz Ali Khadir in IIT Madras as a patent searcher and analyst. So this is the point where he actually started drifting from basic sciences into this area of patent law. And he worked as a research associate there in IIT Madras for almost 2 years and learning the tricks of the trade. And finally, he decided he moved to UK. Right now he's based in London, and he's working as a technical assistant at Carpmels and Ransford, which is a full service European intellectual property firm. And it's been almost 2 years since he has been working there. And he's, as he explained, that he's also, he will be a patent attorney in some time, and he's going into that direction. And it is a right time to talk to him so that he can give us an idea how he drifted from this one to that. Important है. That is, हमें थोड़ा सा बताइए, what is, I mean, patent attorney? What is a patent attorney? What does it do and all?
Okay. So maybe it'll be useful for me to start out by describing what a patent is to this, which will then make sense when I talk about what a patent attorney does. So a patent is basically a document which gives you protection for your inventions and your ideas for inventions. And applying for a patent is like a trade-off that you make with any government, that you want to exchange information about something that you found new and you're sharing it with the world. And in exchange, you're saying that I will share this information, but I need to have protection for my invention so that other people just don't steal it. Okay. So you get a period of 20 years where you're allowed to practice your invention, and it is what they call a negative right. You can stop other people from using the same thing.
Okay.
And the key, why this is useful and why this is a good trade-off, is that based on the information that you share, other people are free now to develop their own versions of things and improvements on your invention and to make newer ones.
Okay.
So they can improve upon what you've shared with them, but they can't themselves use or make the same thing that you have created. So patents are techno-legal documents. And when I say techno-legal, that's because patents are written for two different audiences. There is one document where one part of it describes your invention in technical language. And this is aimed at or written for people who are working in that field, and for them to understand how your invention works and what is the technology behind it. But patents also have the legal aspect of it. And that is the part where you negotiate what exactly you're asking for protection for 20 years for. And it makes absolute sense for anyone to get protection not exactly for the one thing that they've made. Let's say, as an example, let's say I was the first one to make this fountain pen. And if I were to describe it, and I describe saying it's a black pen, it has an ink reservoir, and it has a nib and so on. But what really matters compared to previous pens that came before it, let's say people used to write with feathers before them. And what is the main thing over here is probably this tip, which allows for free flow of ink and allows you to make a pen. And you describing it, saying it is a black pen, doesn't make any difference, because somebody can always make a blue pen, and they're free to uh, rip off your invention technically. So the legal part of the document deals with this aspect. It defines the extent of protection that you're seeking, and that is where patent attorneys come in. They're supposed to be comfortable with both the technical language and the legal language to draft a patent and get protection for your inventions. So that is primarily the job of a patent attorney. Patents are a subset of intellectual property. There are many other kinds of intellectual property. You might have also heard of some of these. So there is copyrights, and there's designs. Copyrights is involved when you have, let's say you've written a book or you've written a piece of music, but it covers a whole range of other things as well. And it prevents people from copying them. And you have trademarks. For example, if you have a brand name of some sort, then yeah, you can trademark it so that you can prevent people from using that. And you also have other things such as like geographic indications, so which are, let's say if you want to get protection for basmati rice, that it comes from a particular area. So these are all other kinds of intellectual property. So intellectual property itself is a vast area of law, and patents are just one subset of this, which deals exclusively with inventions. So you would have patent law in the UK or Europe being different from that in the US, and that in India. So, and people have to be familiar with each of these to qualify in each. For example, I'm training as a European and a UK patent attorney. So once I qualify as a patent attorney, I won't automatically be able to practice in India. I'll have to come back and re-qualify there. And so the legal aspect of it, the technology might remain the same. The invention that you make is going to be the same wherever you take it across the world, but you have to file for patents in each of these countries to get protection.
Now just tell us a little bit about how different is this field from the field of law. I mean, how much law is involved in it and how much science is involved in it.
I would say it's a 50-50 distribution of legal aspects of work and the technical aspects of it.
Okay.
And even in terms of lawyers, there are people, for example, who train as IP lawyers. In India, there are a lot of IP lawyers. And let's say there are patent agents. So the distinction, a simple distinction, is that to become an IP lawyer, you just train as a lawyer. You study law generally. You'll read other forms of law as well. Like you might have to study contract law and yeah, other things as well. And you choose to specialize in IP law. You might not have a technical background at all. You might not even have a science background, let's say an undergrad in science. And in fact, I know of highly successful people who are practicing IP law who only studied science up to the 12th. But it's different from being a patent agent. So IP lawyers can...
So is it same everywhere? Because, for example, in India, what I have figured out is that there is a difference between patent agent. So patent agent doesn't need to have any degree in law, but a patent attorney has to have a degree in law. Is this like that?
Yep.
I mean, there's a...
Yeah, so this is very variable across the world. So I mean, for example, in the US, you have something similar. People who are trained as lawyers and then switch to specializing in IP versus people who start out as scientists and also register as patent agents. That's something we have similar in India. And one of the key differences, which is that IP lawyers can go and usually they're the kind of lawyers that you imagine going to court and making arguments and so on. So that is what people call litigation.
Okay.
So where people get into disputes about a piece of technology that you think
Okay.
that I have a patent and somebody else has used. You might have heard of Apple and
Okay.
Samsung fighting
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
over
Yeah. So that's the
various
job
pieces
of
of
a lawyer.
technology. So that,
I mean,
yeah,
attorney.
that is a that is the job of the lawyer. And a patent agent is one who writes the patents and
Okay.
who also files and prosecutes and gets them to grant.
Okay.
It's only after they're granted can it go into a dispute and you can
Okay.
go to court and argue against it.
So in
But this is,
India,
I mean,
actually, for people in basic sciences, if they have to go, so they can become patent agents. I mean, people from basic
yes,
sciences, or
yes,
they
that
can
that
become
that would be the
patent.
best place to start. Yes. So maybe we will discuss this in a later section when we
Okay.
talk about
Okay.
careers and so on.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the broad gist of it is this. I mean, this is a very loose definition because
Mm-hmm.
in different places in the world it changes.
Mm-hmm.
That a patent agent is one who writes and drafts and files patents and gets them to grant.
Okay.
And a patent lawyer, on the other hand, or the
Mm-hmm.
lawyer that you imagine, is the one who deals with disputes in court
Okay. Okay.
and
So
deals
अगर
with
किसी ने
questions of
किसी का कुछ
infringement.
चोरी किया है तो उसके जाके लड़ना, that is the job of the patent attorney, and
Yes,
उसके लिए
yes.
patent लेके आना, that is the job of a patent agent in Indian
Ha.
definition. In Indian.
Yes, yes, roughly. And for example, in the UK, it is also possible that you can, the borders are somewhat fuzzier. Like in
Mm-hmm.
the UK, for instance, if I train as a patent agent, that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm the equivalent of here is I'm a patent attorney,
Mm-hmm.
but I can also get rights of audience and I can also go into court disputes, for instance, if I take an additional qualification, if I take an
Okay.
additional exam, which they call a litigation certificate here.
Okay.
So I will be eligible to practice that way.
So in UK,
So,
you can even if you have a background from sciences and all that, non-law background, you can still become a patent attorney. You can go into
uh,
litigation and all that.
yeah, you can go into litigation.
But in
Although, I
India,
mean,
as much
oh,
as I could find, I don't think so. You can go into that. You need to have a degree in law if you want to go into litigation. But you can be a patent agent, I guess. You can write the patents and
yeah,
work in that area.
yeah. In any case, one key thing to remember is in most like patent disputes or that
Mm-hmm.
there are larger teams working.
Okay.
So there's nothing stopping you from going to court. Really, you would go as a team to court also likely.
Yeah.
But the only thing is
Okay.
that you don't have the rights to do the go walk up and say Your Honor or something like that.
Okay.
So
So there is no masala there. I mean, but
yeah, yeah, you kind
yeah.
of like Your Honor, this patent is invalid and throw it or
Okay.
something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
You specialize in biotech area, in the area of
Yes. Yeah.
and obviously patents are required in every field. And
Mm-hmm.
one cannot be master of all the fields. You have to hire people from different backgrounds. So you specialize in biotechnology area.
Yeah.
So I mean, what kind of clientele do you get in your area? For example, by clientele means what kind of people approach you for patent? You have been
Yes.
working in
Okay.
the field for a long time now.
Yeah. So our clients are mostly mid to large size pharma companies,
Mm-hmm.
largely. But we also get clients who are, let's say, universities, because university research also gets patented.
Okay. Okay.
And uh, so much smaller firms, for example, biotech as a space, biotech and let's say even pharma, there are
Mm-hmm.
very few very small players.
Okay.
And biotech, maybe in the US, for example, there are a lot more biotech startups.
Okay.
So you might have smaller enterprises which are filing a lot of patents. But
Okay.
usually the ones that I've dealt with so far are either some select university ones, university research labs and their output.
Okay.
And otherwise, it's largely mid to large size pharma companies.
Okay.
And this differs from sector to sector. For example, if you're working in somebody who's trained in physics or engineering or something, you might even come across like single lone inventors who might have
Mm-hmm.
designed something in their garage or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But of course, biotech and pharma has not reached the level where people just do it as a
Yeah.
backyard science.
Backyard
So,
science, yes, definitely. So okay. So what are the? I mean, but you have been working in UK and Europe sector and all that. So uh, I mean, what are the big law firms, if you can, big firms which are dealing with this patent application or patent litigation in Europe or let's say in India? I mean, India would be most important because of most of our audience is from India. Do you have some names for people? I mean, is it generally with the big houses, big firms, or people are dealing it on the individual level also?
So it is a mix of both. I
Okay.
mean, there are just like too many names across the world to rattle off,
Okay.
and for the reason that I explained earlier as well, because
Mhm.
patent law is highly specialized in each country. There are unique sort of quirks for each
Okay.
country's law. So
Mhm.
there are always countries which specialize in, I mean, in like firms which specialize in patent law
Mhm.
across all of these countries. I mean, there are quite a lot, many firms which are
Okay.
specialists for their for that country.
Okay.
So, and there are several to list off again that I can't really give you a list, but it is interesting to note that uh, for IP law
Mhm.
as a specialization, there is a greater tendency for many companies to deal exclusively in IP law.
Okay.
So there are what you call IP boutique firms, maybe,
Okay.
and India
Okay.
has several of them,
Okay.
and they do a mixture of both. They'll have both patent lawyers and patent agents in house.
Mhm.
So they will deal with both the court side proceedings, and the
Mhm.
other side is where they will also do this thing called prosecution, where they'll file and get patents granted.
Okay.
And just as a point, like earlier you introduced me and you said I work at the full service firm.
Mhm.
And so a full service firm which does something from start to finish, that it
Okay.
files patents and takes it all the way up to fighting for them in court proceedings.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in UK, it's a bit of a strange thing because they are usually separated. There are firms which will handle only filing patents and
Mhm.
firms which will handle only
Only the
court proceedings.
course proceedings.
So
Okay.
yeah, ours is one of the few firms which does both.
Okay.
But in
So
India, it's a bit more mixed.
now we move to the segments which our audience is generally more interested in. Apart from this, also, first of all, that this is something which is totally different from what we have been studying. जो हम BSc, MSc में करते आ रहे हैं, and suddenly you are into some different area. How did you did your bachelor's, master's, and PhD in basic sciences? Okay, and then you decided to move this thing into an area which is totally different. And what are the challenges that you faced? I mean, after getting into this area, first of all, I mean, after entering the area of law, I mean, how much law did you have to learn? I mean, in those terms.
Yeah, that is a good question. So a bit about how I maybe stumbled upon this in
Uh,
it
yeah,
might
that
be
would be even
useful.
more interesting. How did you get to know about it? You joined IIT
Yeah,
Madras to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it I would like to say that all of it was carefully planned, but most of it
Okay.
was by accident.
Okay.
So um, when I was doing my PhD itself, one of the things that I really enjoyed
Uh-huh.
was reading widely. I was not always restricted to what my own research was about. And I really enjoyed talking science to other people, let's say from neighboring labs or across the
Hmm.
department,
Hmm. Hmm.
and like taking an active interest in reading more about other streams and other fields as well.
Okay.
And somewhere along the line, I was considering leaving academia, and I was looking at other jobs which will allow me to do this. And for example, science editing and science publishing is I did a short stint there just to
Hmm.
give it a try. And this was something that I was doing as a freelancer,
Hmm.
just to get a feel for it. And along the way, I'd also read about patent law, and I just shelved it in my mind somewhere, thinking that okay, this looks very interesting, but I have to do the law,
Okay.
and I've already been studying for so long.
Hmm.
So will I be able to study a little bit more
Uh-huh.
and something completely new? So it was scary at first, and the accident happened that I met a patent lawyer who was working in the pharmaceutical sector. So
Okay.
he did his B Farm, and he started out as a patent lawyer after his B Farm.
Hmm.
And I met him of all places. I met him in an Indian wedding.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and
Nice.
yeah, so and I had a casual chat with him, and it's yeah, and he also invited me to come and visit his firm and the partner at the firm and so on,
Okay.
because it is still, I mean, relatively unusual for people with PhDs in India
Hmm.
to pick up patent law.
Hmm.
So that is, I would say, like a completely unexplored thing for a lot of PhDs in India.
Hmm.
And so because of that, I mean, I was able to get an initial meeting and I had a chat, and I also said that this was the time when I just finished writing my thesis and I was waiting for my defense. So I was open to the idea of just trying out something as an internship.
Okay.
And so I approached him and I said that this is what I'd like to do, because I've been interested in this field, but
Hmm.
I always didn't know how much law I needed to know. and I want to know how comfortable I feel with the law,
Okay.
or with handling something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And which is how he introduced me to the Professor Firoz at
Okay.
IIT Madras.
Okay.
And so the key thing over there is that it seems a lot more scarier than it is at first. Just looking at this thing, when I say that 50% of it is law,
Okay.
and you're like, yeah, what does the law mean? Do I have to read like fat textbooks of
Uh-huh.
cases and so on?
So is it like
Uh,
that, or is it not like that? I mean, what is it?
I mean, it is like that. I
Okay.
mean, I won't lie. It is like that,
Uh-huh.
and in
But
fact,
you, I mean,
but you don't
it's not.
start off like that. In fact,
Uh-huh.
to give you an idea, I'm resting my laptop on this right now.
Intellectual property, very nice.
So this is the size of your textbooks that you have to read,
Uh-huh.
and but but the key thing and the most important thing is that you don't need to know the law when you enter the profession,
Okay.
because for patent agents, what
Uh-huh.
people are looking for is whether you have technical knowledge, how well you know your field,
Okay.
can you understand technology. The key thing over there is, can you understand technology,
So
can
it
you
is like
explain
they are
it well.
hiring you for your technical expertise, and
Exactly.
ultimately you will be given jobs for according to that. But
Yeah.
later on, with time, you will also learn some law also, and ultimately you will drift. I mean, it is not like कि
Yeah,
तुम्हें जाते ही तुम्हें कोई काम ही नहीं होगा. तुम्हें जिस चीज के लिए हायर किया गया है वो है तुम्हारी टेक्निकल एक्सपर्टीज इन अ पर्टिकुलर एरिया. आप उसी पे काम करोगे. बट क्योंकि आप वो वैसी चीजें देखते रहोगे जो कि लॉ के साथ रिलेटेड है, धीरे धीरे यू आर सपोज टू पिक अप दोस थिंग्स. सो बेसिकली इट्स लाइक अ बफर टाइम, सो यू कैन डू दैट.
it's a lot of learning on the job for the
Okay.
legal side of things.
Okay. Okay. And
Yes, and it's to put it very simply, I would say that it's easier for you to learn science and then learn the law. You can't do the reverse. If I
yeah,
did a PhD in law and somebody told me study biology and molecular biology, that would be
yeah.
a lot more difficult.
Once again, it's a controversy. I mean, I mean, people who
Oh
love law
yeah,
keep on loving law, but
yeah,
what he is saying is technically,
yeah.
I mean, it becomes difficult. Learning law is still possible, I guess, even
Yeah,
after.
I hope there are no lawyers in the audience
Yes.
who.
But okay, so as you said that you did it after PhD, and very few people do that. So is there, what is the kind of qualification if you say that? I mean, is it mandatory or is there an advantage? कोई advantage है PhD करके join करने का, या bachelor's करके join करने का, या masters करके जाने का? I mean, what does the field require basically? जिसके लिए आपको hire किया गया, वो चाहते क्या हैं आपसे?
uh, Frankly speaking, a PhD is not absolutely essential to get into
Okay.
this.
Okay.
And when I'm saying unusual, it is probably true for India to some extent.
Okay.
Elsewhere, like in the and it also depends on the sector.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but to answer the first question of whether it is necessary,
Uh-huh.
it is not. I know several of my colleagues over here as well who have joined just after their
Okay.
undergraduate studies in biology,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of work that you do is the same.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is generally that it depends on your comfort level of reading something new,
Okay.
because patents are typically the first ever publications about something. Even before you publish a paper or something, you need to patent it first.
Hmm.
So anything that you come across in patents is, there is no reference point. You can't go back to a textbook to try and understand it.
Okay.
It's new. It is something completely new.
Okay.
So you should be able to look at primary sources of information, look at data and analyze it. And
तो वो आप
so
बैचलर्स
if
के
you,
बाद या मास्टर्स के बाद भी कर सकते हैं, बट ऑब्वियसली जैसे कि
yeah,
बाकी फील्ड्स में भी होता है, ऐसे तो बहुत साल तक हमारे यहाँ यूनिवर्सिटीज में भी एंट्रेंस टू बिकम अ प्रोफेसर आपकी जो क्वालिफिकेशन चाहिए दैट वाज ओनली मास्टर्स एंड नेट क्वालिफिकेशन. बट पीपल ओवर द इयर्स टेंड टू नो, आई मीन देयर आर सो मेनी पीएचडीज एंड ऑब्वियसली हैविंग अ पीएचडी इज एडवांटेज. बट मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ, एक तो है कि नो डाउट पीएचडी वाले को इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा होगी, बट आई मीन इज इट रियली यूजफुल? आई मीन हैज इट रियली कम ऑफ हैंडी फॉर यू in your field?
for me personally, okay, to answer it from a personal
Uh-huh.
point of view, if I would say that if I knew about this field when I was just finishing my undergrad,
Uh-huh.
I would have gone for it.
Okay.
But I don't think I would have been selected, because I don't think I would have had the necessary skills, personally speaking, because
Okay, so
you
there's the
have to
same
be
kind of thing कि bare minimum qualification तो चाहे +2 है, but आपको कोई लेगा नहीं क्योंकि आपको अप्लाई मे बी अप्लाई करने वाले सारे ही वहाँ पे
No, it depends
मास्टर्स
upon.
लेवल पे.
I would say it depends upon your caliber. If you're used to reading and analyzing information
Uh-huh.
beyond the textbooks. Rather, okay, let me put it this way. If you are doing your undergrad right now, and if
Uh-huh.
you're considering this as a profession,
Okay.
I would say that you read extensively, get used to looking for like reading research articles or papers or something like that
Mm-hmm.
to gear up, because that is the kind of, like, as an interview question, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I was just given a couple of papers, and then they just said that, okay, tell us about this. Tell us what's
Okay.
so special about this.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the sort of interview question itself that
So
you would get.
basically, you are now talking about the kind of skill set. I mean, there is no degree. It's basically a qualification, no degree for getting into this area. But obviously, when you will appear for an interview, they will be looking for a certain kind of qualities in you. One of the
Yeah,
that you mentioned is कि हाँ जैसे बच्चे हैं अगर a person who is reading research papers and all that
yeah.
and is into the habit of that and is aware of the things around it. I mean, it is easier for them. That is what you are trying to
Yeah,
say here.
but as a minimum qualification, you do require a technical background. You do require an undergraduate as a
Undergraduate.
in science
So
as a
basically
minimum
BSc या
to
MSc अगर हो
qualify.
बेसिक साइंसेस में
हाँ,
BSc या
BSc भी काफी है,
okay.
as the law stipulates that you need a technical degree to apply as a patent agent to
तो
qualify.
इसी से फिर हम आगे क्वेश्चन अगला जो मैं आपको पूछना चाहता हूँ विच इज मोर रेलेवेंट टू द करियर जो
हम्म,
जिस चीज पे आती है
हम्म,
कि मान लो किसी के पास डिग्री है एंड नाउ ही वांट्स ही इज इंटरेस्टेड आपसे बात करने के बाद या वैसे कहीं सुनने के बाद बोले कि नहीं चलो मुझे भी पेटेंट अटर्नी बनना है हालांकि हमने भी पैसों की बात नहीं करी है कि पैसे कितने इस फील्ड में बट स्टिल people get motivated so the thing is let's say somebody decides that he wants to become that what is the right way what should he do or she do कि कहाँ कैसे अप्लाई करना चाहिए लाइक फॉर इन योर केस यू मेट अ पर्सन इन अ वेडिंग एंड थ्रू दैट यू दैट बट इट विल
yeah.
नॉट हैपन टू एनीवन आई
So
मीन हमारी वेडिंग्स में हो सकता है यहाँ पे ना आए कभी कोई पेटेंट अटर्नी ना आए बट what is the right way to go about it where to find how to apply to a firm which is looking for patent attorneys or patent agents that's what I mean how to I mean go about it with your experience.
okay. Okay. So in India, whenever I was looking at it, at the time I was looking, which was a few years back,
Mm-hmm.
there were no formal placement programs or open internships or something. And I don't know if the situation has changed appreciably enough. For
Okay.
example, as a comparator, I would say that like in the UK, I got recruited in my job because I went for an internship. I
Hmm.
went for a short-term paid internship here, and from there they decided to select me for an interview, and I had a couple more rounds of interviews before I was here. So I don't think formal internship opportunities exist as far as I'm aware in India. But the thing over there is that's also um, because the student population is not really aware of it, I think.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And so the best chance would be if you would write to individual firms
Okay.
wherever it is. And
Okay.
most of the firms are concentrated in places where the patent office itself has its like branches. So
Okay.
those are in Delhi, Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta,
Okay.
or I should say Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so you write to firms and write to people who are working in your sector.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm in biotech or pharma or
Mm-hmm.
chemistry. So write to people who specialize in that, and usually partners or senior associates or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, some firms might also say that if you're interested in an internship, write to this email address and so on.
Okay.
The main thing that you need to do is, I mean, this is a general advice for people applying for any internship at any firm and so on. You prepare a cover letter and you prepare your CV,
Okay.
and you look at the firm's website and you try to tailor it to individual firm and what they practice in. You can perhaps like discuss saying, I noticed that you work in this sector, you filed applications for this company,
Mm-hmm.
and or I'm interested in this technology particularly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and could I arrange a informal conversation? Could I drop into your office and come and visit or
Okay.
something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's tricky if, let's say, you're based in Punjab and the nearest place in Delhi, but yeah, the first thing is to kick off the conversation. Start
Okay.
with an email and see where that takes you. And I'm pretty sure that most people would be very receptive to this,
Mm-hmm.
that they would be happy for people to come and visit and do a short term training there.
Okay.
And so that is on the practical experience side of things.
Okay.
But theoretically, if you want to know more about patents, there are lots of online resources also available. For example, the World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO, WIPO as it's called,
Okay.
has several resources which gives you an introduction of what patents are, what IP rights are, and what is the usual process for filing a patent, and so on.
Hmm.
So it's good for you to, before you even approach somebody, for you to get a lay of the land, to understand
Okay.
what these things are, what procedurally what is. You don't need to know the law. Let me stress that very importantly. Nobody is asking you to say that, oh, you tell me article something and so on, of whatever code.
Okay.
Oh.
What is the hierarchy? I mean, let's say अगर bachelor's में कोई student है या
Mhm.
जिसने MSc करी है and they enter this field, so what is the hierarchy? किस level पे वो enter करेगा and how does it grow? I mean, you can give example from your own area. I mean, from your own firm also. You are
Okay.
working in London. So how
Mhm.
does it work? Where did you enter and where till what point can you go? Can you reach?
Uh, so I work in, another thing which I forgot to mention is that when you start out, you can also choose to work either in private practice,
Mm-hmm.
working with a firm. That's not the only option though. You can also work what are called in-house patent attorneys. So you can work at a company.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a lot of pharma companies in India have patent attorneys of their own. So they also recruit, for
Okay.
example. And that's
Okay.
another place to look out for. I forgot to
Ah,
mention
okay.
that,
So pharma
especially for
companies जो
people.
हैं उनकी अपनी भी I mean
Yeah.
they also have a army of
Yeah,
lawyers
yeah,
and
yeah, yes, yes.
attorneys and
In-house
all.
patent attorneys. Yeah, they
Okay,
have.
okay. So
Yeah.
they will also be
So
looking for people with
yes, yes.
this
So
background.
and that's I forgot. I'm addressing a large, the predominantly chemist audience of chemists. So it is
Mm-hmm.
very important. You look up um, websites of Indian pharma companies as well to see if they have available opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even write to people there if you can find contacts in who work the patent department
Okay.
of a pharma company. So when I can talk about private practice, so you join in as in my case, it's called either a technical assistant or a trainee patent attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in the UK and Europe, the qualification process is longer. It takes a good 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so until you clear all your exams over these 3 years, there are multiple
Mm-hmm.
sets of exams that you need to take.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my case, I have completed and cleared 4 exams already. So I'm technically what they'd call a part qualified attorney. And
Okay.
you have several more exams. But in India, for example, there is just a single exam. So
Acha.
another thing which you could, if people are really interested, is they can already appear for this exam, and there
Okay.
are online training resources available. For example, this year the exam is going to be conducted sometime in November or December, I think, in India.
Mm-hmm.
So that is carried out by the Indian Patent Office. It
Okay.
administers this exam.
Okay.
And there are, more recently, there are a lot of training resources with even people releasing free videos on YouTube, for instance, which tell you all the basics about the patents and about this exam as such. And you
Okay.
could, in theory, just take this exam and give it a shot to
So
see
once you
how
have this
it works
exam,
out.
then you can. I mean, how does it help you? I mean, अगर आप ये exam
So
clear कर
in the
लेते हैं.
Indian scenario, if you clear this exam,
Mm-hmm.
you are already a registered patent agent, which means
Okay.
that
Okay.
already gives you the license to file a patent. So
Ah.
in case you clear the exam,
Uh-huh.
you are already employable
Okay. Okay.
readily. Okay.
And as far
And
as I could look for audience को मैं बता देता हूँ कि जो ये exam है इसका syllabus is very very I mean there are two parts of the in this exam. So one is the which deals with the patent acts and rules which you have to learn. I mean qualification minimum qualification that you require is कि आपके पास bachelor's degree होनी चाहिए pharmacy में engineering में या technology में या बेसिक साइंसेस में एंड उसके बाद एग्जाम्स में आपके दो पार्ट हैं एक है पेटेंट एक्ट और रूल्स के ऊपर एंड दूसरा एग्जाम है ड्राफ्टिंग एंड इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ पेटेंट स्पेसिफिकेशंस एंड अदर डॉक्यूमेंट्स सो बेसिकली आपको थोड़ा सा इसके लिए तैयारी करना नॉट थोड़ी सी आई एम प्रीटी श्योर तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी बिकॉज इट इज नॉट समथिंग विच यू लर्न ड्यूरिंग योर बीएससी और एमएससी बट ऑब्वियसली इफ यू वांट टू स्विच यू हैव टू वर्क अगर आप लोग एमबीए की तैयारी करके कैट का एग्जाम दे सकते हैं अगर आप आई मीन इफ यू कैन गो फॉर आईएएस दोस एग्जाम्स देन व्हाई नॉट दिस वन आई मीन दिस इज आल्सो एन एग्जाम बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो फील्ड स्विच करते हैं so there is an exam as Sudarshan is saying so you clear that exam then you are allowed or you are authorized to practice as a patent agent or patent attorney I guess patent agent I guess
yeah, a patent agent.
because in India to become a patent attorney you have to have a degree in law
Yeah.
I guess.
So
But you can practice as an agent. You can file an agent. You can write a patent. You can write a patent, and that is all you will be able to do. Yeah.
yeah. So if you become like whether you take this exam or not, once you're recruited, you'll start out as a trainee,
Hmm.
and soon as you qualify, if once you, let's say, clear the patent agent exam, you can become an associate,
Okay.
and and slowly you rise up the ranks. So in terms of work, so the ranks are usually in most law firms are associate, senior associate,
Hmm.
and then partner.
Okay.
So, and how it usually works is that as an associate, you will be handling some whole bunch of cases which are left to you,
Okay.
and your job will be to first, like, sometimes write the patent itself, file
Hmm.
it at the patent office, engage in sort of dialogue with the patent office to convince them that this deserves a patent
Okay.
and get it granted. And once you go to, let's say, a senior associate level, you'd be handling not just like individual cases, but you'll be
Hmm.
handling an entire family of patent applications.
Hmm.
So usually for any given technology, people file hundreds of patents many times. It's
Okay.
like, for example, if you'd say Apple's mobile phone technology will have thousands of patents associated with it.
Okay.
So you would handle entire families of patents. And you'll also be handling multiple clients or multiple companies, what they call patent portfolios, which are this collection of patents.
Hmm.
And so until this level, it's usually you're still a salaried employee.
Hmm.
And once you go to a partner level, in most cases, it's you
Hmm.
become a shareholder in the company itself.
Okay.
So any
Okay.
profits you get a percentage of the profits and so on. And at that level, you're the sole point of contact with a particular client, and your job now also involves going and getting in more business for the company.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you would still be doing all of the roles that you were doing previously, but you get your responsibilities keep increasing, and you'll also start managing groups of senior associates and associates, and you'll also be training younger people
Okay.
and so on.
Okay.
So a
Okay.
lot of, and so the interesting thing is that when you start out in terms of like rough salaries, I'm not
Uh-huh.
exactly sure about how it works, what the salary scene is in India, but from what I've read, at least, the salary ranges from for patent agents from anywhere as low as 30,000 to up to 1 lakh, even at the entry point.
Okay.
You
Okay.
start off,
Okay.
and as you can imagine, in once you reach a partnership level or something, depends upon how big your firm is and
Hmm.
what kind of
Hmm.
business it attracts. Yeah, there is always a lot of money to be made, and
And
yeah.
as I could also find out, I mean, India may patents getting into this field, or as such, the field of intellectual property rights and all these things is not as popular as it is in Europe and North America and all these places. So people who will have some experience over here at this level can definitely move to other countries. Like you have also shifted eventually, and you moved to London. I mean, there were other reasons also in your case, but you had a good experience in India also at a good place, and then you shifted to and that must have helped when you applied for a job in London, I guess.
So it is. It's a mixed bag. I wouldn't say practicing in India would help you elsewhere.
Hmm.
So yeah, because like I said, there are unique quirks for every country and its kind of practice.
Okay.
So what works in India might not work elsewhere.
Okay. Okay. But at least you will become familiar with the terminology, and there must be
Yep,
some
yep, yep.
similarity overall.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. If yeah, starting off work anywhere. So what I mean to say is that if you started off in India, it doesn't guarantee you opportunities to go abroad and work elsewhere. It
Hmm.
doesn't work that way
Okay.
particularly. But
Okay.
in terms of just your experience, it's good.
Okay.
And on the other hand, there are also other roles. So we have been discussing a patent attorney as one thing, but there are other roles which I think in India are also growing more recently.
Hmm.
That you can also become a patent analyst,
Okay.
for example, or a patent searcher. So one of the main things for getting a patent is what to compare with what has come before. So whatever you submit has to be completely new. It should not have been known before at all.
Okay.
So the first job is always to figure out what did come before, what is
Okay.
there before
Okay.
you apply.
Okay. Okay.
And it's a huge job for people who specialize in just finding what patents came before this,
Okay.
and and they are usually sector experts, so they
Hmm.
know their individual sector, whether it's biotech or pharma, they can easily say to the point that after some point of time, if you come up with a new invention, they can already be like, okay, is this new or not?
Okay.
I already know that this sector is very hot right now, and there are lots of patents being filed and so on.
Okay.
So that kind of job, for instance, doesn't require you to know too much of the law. And a lot of companies in India also do this as what they call just like BPOs. They have KPOs, so they have knowledge process outsourcing.
Okay. Okay.
And I've come across a whole bunch of companies, let's say like in Gurgaon, which do this sort of thing. So that's also something that you could try your hands at.
So basically,
And
what you are saying is that there are n number of things which can be done. I mean, apart from practicing as or going into the litigation part of the patent work, there is tons of other things to do. You can help in filing the patents, you can help in analyzing them, help in searching them. All these kind of works are there, and all it requires is knowledge, a technical knowledge in a particular field, basic sciences or engineering or something like this. You do not need any law degree, and if you can clear an exam, wunderbar.
Wunderbar, exactly.
Wunderbar.
So more, and the key thing to stress there again is the technical knowledge plus your eagerness to learn something new.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, can you just give people some idea what kind of skills they should be focusing on if they want to get into this area? For example, you are saying they should read a lot. Like in the poster also, we stressed on three parts. One was law, one was science, and the last one was language. So how important is it to, I mean, basically language is important everywhere, but some fields require it more, like the command over English language or something like that. So such kind of skill sets. So what kind of skill sets which students should be they should start focus, I mean they should focus on कि इस पे अगर हम थोड़ा ध्यान दें तो हमारा कल को इस चीज में जाना इजी हो जाएगा. So कैसे skill sets के ऊपर you will like to stress?
Okay.
Like reading is one thing which you said.
Yeah.
Read a lot.
Reading is the best place to start.
Okay. And apart from that,
read widely, and because the main thing is as a patent attorney, every day or every week you come across newer technology, and so that's where, for instance, the PhD doesn't really help, because there are very few patents that have come across, not even very few. There are 0 patents which I've come across which have anything to do with what my research was based on.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. It's so, very motivating and depressing at the same time. But yeah, it's okay.
Yes. So you should get out of your comfort zone and be okay with processing something new. And for that, you'll never get out of it unless you start reading to begin with. In my case, I would say there's also an advantage.
In a way, it is exactly.
I was very comfortable with it.
In a way, it is exactly different from the field of research in that way. I mean, because in research, it's, I mean, you are always taught one thing, have patience and take some time to do this thing and all that. But what you are saying is pick up new things, and the person who is good at picking up new things, reading new things, coming up with new things, he will be a very successful person in your field. That's what would be.
Yes. You do, and
very open to new technology and new inventions.
Exactly. You don't need to be good at it, but you should be quick to pick it up.
Okay.
Like as an example, even over the past 2 weeks, I've dealt with things which on one side deal with T cells, and other things with antibodies to growth factors, and on another side about microorganisms which you can just ingest to help your health, and so on. So there's like multiple things.
Okay. All right. So there are many other things to discuss also, and but we are running out of time. Thanks Ajiaji for asking this question, and once again, thanks a lot, Sudarshan, for coming and spending time with us and making the audience aware about the field of patent law.
I hope they have learned something from this.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's something which people generally are not aware of, and as a basic science student or something, this is one thing which you can venture into. And as he says, it not only pays good money, it also exposes you to different kind of area. I mean, if you are not into research and anything or teaching and anything, this is something you should explore. And it is going to grow in India, as people are saying Now companies will move from US to China, from China to maybe India, and we are pushing a lot on getting a lot of investments, foreign investment. So these things are going to grow exponentially. So maybe it's not a bad time to get into this area. Yeah. And so once again, thanks, and I hope everybody enjoyed the session. Thanks a lot.